When you download the iHeartRadio app and put the W. Dean Shook Show on your list of stations, you will prove to the world that you're a little bit smarter than everyone else. The W. Dean Shook Show, your connection to the signs of the times.
Now, you have a source for the truth in the news. W. Dean Shook, End Time News. Your connection to the signs of the times.
Welcome to End Time News. I am your host, W. Dean Shook. We are going to have a Jihad update today. Now, I'm going to play you a clip from President Obama that's going to help you understand the news reports to follow. In this news clip, I put two clips together. The first one is at election time, when President Obama was on Larry King claiming he was not raised in a Muslim family. The immediate clip that follows is his speech in Cairo, Egypt, where he contradicts himself and says that he was raised in a Muslim family, that he woke up to the call of the azan. Listen to this clip, and then maybe the news reports to follow will make a little more sense.
Concerning that, though, there's a lot of emails going around. It gets rather terrible. A Newsweek poll shows that 12% of America believes that you're a Muslim, and 26% believe you were raised in a Muslim home. A lot of misinformation. How do you fight that?
Well, by getting on Larry King and telling everybody I'm a Christian and I wasn't raised in a Muslim home, and pledge allegiance to the flag, and all the things that have been reported in these emails are completely untrue and have been debunked again and again and again. So all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Assalamu alaikum. Many other Americans have Muslims in their families or have lived in a Muslim majority country. I know because I am one of them. But my father came from a Kenyan family that includes generations of Muslims. As a boy, I spent several years in Indonesia and heard the call of the azan at the break of dawn. I have known Islam on 3 continents before coming to the region where it was first revealed. That experience guides my conviction.
All right, here's a WND exclusive. U.S. Muslims are asking Obama to block counterterrorism training, even as fear grows that ISIS terrorists are secretly inside Americans' Muslim community. Dozens of American Muslim groups have fired off a letter to President Obama demanding he cut off federal funding for sheriffs and other local police receiving anti-jihadist training from a former FBI agent. Veteran FBI Special Agent John Guandolo, formerly of the Bureau's Washington Field Office, has been training local law enforcement officials and federal agents in the tactics for identifying and ferreting out Islamic terrorists and their supporters inside U.S. cities. But more than 75 Islamic and leftist groups, upset with his focus on the religious motivation of terrorists, last month sent a 5-page letter to the White House complaining of a biased training program. Led by the Washington-based Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, which has been named an unindicted co-conspirator in a major federal terrorism case, the coalition demanded that President implement a mandatory retraining program for all federal, state, and local enforcement officials who have been trained by Guandolo. It also called for disciplinary action against federal agents and local police officials who participate in training with discriminatory counterterrorism materials. The coalition's White House demands, including requiring federal agents that provide law enforcement and homeland security funding to state and local governments, to condition such funding on carrying out training or otherwise using federal funds in a manner that upholds our nation's commitment to equal treatment, equal justice under the law, and barring the use of trainers or materials that exhibit bias against any race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. Previously, CARE had tried to block Guandolo's training of sheriff's office in Culpeper County, Virginia, Rutherford County, Tennessee, and Franklin County, Ohio. The Islamic group currently is pressuring law enforcement officials in Maricopa County, Arizona, to cancel Guandolo's September 19th briefing with some 300 prosecutors and police. This week, CARE tried unsuccessfully to force Colorado Christian University to disinvite Guandolo from speaking before its Centennial Institute about the threat from, as Guandolo put it, the massive Jihad network that exists in the U.S. CARE's complaints against Guandolo got unusually personal and shrill when CARE officials Corey Saylor comparing Guandolo to white supremacists in a letter to the university officials. And you can see that letter and the rest of this story at the website at wdeanshook.com. And I don't know if you were aware or not, but there's a move to strip the American citizenship of Americans who go to fight with ISIS overseas. Michelle Bach, FBI told me Americans who fight with ISIS will be allowed to return. Wednesday on Newsmax, the Steve Malzberg Show, Representative Michelle Bachmann detailed a private classified meeting she had with the FBI to ask if any citizens from Minnesota were fighting with ISIS. Bachmann said she was told there are 2, which has since been reported, but the Congresswoman stressed when she asked if they would be allowed to return, the agent said after extra scrutiny they would. In response to Minnesota lawmakers has proposed in the House the Terrorist Denaturalization and Passport Revocation Act, which would strip the citizenship of Americans who joined the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria to fight. Here's a clip of that interview.
Steve, thanks. It's so great to be on Newsmax again, and I thank you for having me on today, especially on this extremely important topic.
Well, I couldn't think of anybody better to have to talk about this than you, and I want to talk about, before we get to the president and tonight and some remarks that Dick Cheney made about the president and the Muslim Brotherhood, what we just heard and the problem of Americans, Westerners in particular, Americans specifically, joining ISIS or other terrorist groups in Somalia or anywhere, and there's a bill that would strip citizenship of such Americans. And what are the chances that gets through very quickly?
Well, I asked Republican leadership to fast-track my bill that I introduced on Monday, and essentially what it says is this: we have seen American citizens join up with terrorists and engage in terrorist acts in the Middle East. Once an American citizen effectively renounces their citizenship by joining the Islamic State or ISIS, they at that point, in my opinion, should have their passport stripped, and they should begin the process of denaturalization, which means losing your American citizenship. They shouldn't be allowed to freely re-enter the United States. It's madness. Sitting on the Intelligence Committee for 2 years, we have been following the rise of ISIS, the Islamic State. This is not new to us. We have been following this. And again, if we knew about this in the Intelligence Committee, certainly the President of the United States had our information, and I would hope even more information than we had access to. And so therefore, earlier this summer, I went to the FBI and I asked them for a private meeting to ask them specifically, are there any Minnesotans who are involved in the Islamic State? Because Minnesota, unfortunately, has a long and storied nexus to terrorism.
Yeah, in Somalia, yeah.
That's right. The FBI told me, and it was classified at the time, now it is open source documents, that there were 2 Minnesotans that had joined up with the Islamic State. I asked the FBI, if they choose to return to Minnesota, will they be allowed to? The FBI responded, yes, they will. They're American citizens.
How is that even possible? How?
My jaw dropped when they said that, and I said, well, you mean nothing happens? And they said, well, we put their name on a watch list, and they have additional screening. Well, what's that, I said, and they asked them questions. So you ask them additional questions, and then they're allowed to go unimpeded back to Minnesota to live? Yes, said the FBI. That cannot be. We need to, quote, get a brain in the United States and wake up, because the Islamic State has been very clear about their intention. That's why they call themselves the Islamic State. They see that the global caliphate literally goes around the world, including the United States, and the leader of the Islamic State is an individual named Baghdadi. And he said in January of this year to the United States, he said, soon we will be in direct confrontation. We are with you, and we are watching you. And we need to take him seriously, because our southern border, in my opinion, is unprotected and porous. And we are literally seeing over 1 million foreign nationals a year successfully coming into the United States When I was down on the southern border this summer, the Border Patrol told me they had already interdicted people from 140 different countries coming across our border, including from Somalia, Iraq, Iran, Syria. So we need to take into account the fact that with an open, porous border and with the intent of the Islamic State to bring about terrorist activity in the United States, that at the least we shouldn't allow American citizens who have joined up committing barbaric acts in the name of terrorism to go back to the United States, where presumably with battlefield experience and a plan, they could bring about this havoc and terrorism in our American streets. That's wrong. The American people deserve to have the right to feel safe and secure and protected in our communities and in our homes.
Yeah, what scares me, Congresswoman, is that it's common sense, and that usually doesn't prevail. But let me ask you two quick questions here. One, will this be fast-tracked by Republican leadership? I don't see why it wouldn't be. And then, what's the feel on the other side of the aisle for this?
You know, I think there has been strong interest from the Democrats on this bill as well. Who could disagree?
Right.
Who could possibly disagree that an American who joins up with the Islamic State barbarians would have the right to return to the United States? So I think that this is something, I've even had Democrat senators talking to me about interest in this bill. I think this is something that could be fast-tracked. I've asked Kevin McCarthy, the House Majority Leader, to fast-track this. I've asked Steve Scalise to do as well. We've also put the word into the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, to fast-track this. This bill was a similar bill was introduced in the United States Senate by Senator Ted Cruz. And so he is also trying to work with their Democrat leadership to make this happen. I think we will hear from President Obama tonight, but it seems to me we need to send a strong signal to people in the United States who are a part of ISIS, who are thinking of becoming a part of ISIS, that they should think twice about joining, because there will be direct consequences, that they will not only be prevented from returning to the United States, they will also be stripped of their American citizenship. And of course, they have due process protections, but they would begin the process of losing their citizenship.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you, not to give away anything classified, which I know you won't, but in your capacity as a member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, do you believe that there are ISIS members already in this country, beside, Americans who might have gone there and come back, or maybe even including those who are a threat to the homeland here today?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do believe that there are those who are not only sympathetic, but who are members of the Islamic Jihad. One thing that Vice President Dick Cheney said to us yesterday morning here in Washington in a meeting with the House Republicans is that the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a violent terrorist organization, is the umbrella. It's the mother of all of these Islamic Jihad organizations. And I asked the Vice President in front of the group yesterday, does he believe that we should pass a bill that would designate the Muslim Brotherhood a foreign terrorist organization, as we have Hamas, which is one of the 70 franchises of the Muslim Brotherhood? He said, I would vote for that bill in a minute. I introduced that bill about a month and a half ago to designate the Muslim Brotherhood a foreign terrorist organization. I would love to see President Obama, who is the person who would do the designating, I would love to see him designate the Muslim Brotherhood, again, kind of the mother of Islamic Jihad, a terrorist organization, and also put in place the tools that our State Department needs to stop American citizens from entering the United States if they have joined up with Islamic Jihad.
Right, but
Those
Congresswoman,
are two direct actions the President could take.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Dick Cheney also said that Obama has actually done things that have supported the Muslim Brotherhood. And when you try to legitimately raise concern about the background of Abedin, Muslim Brotherhood, and when you try to legitimately raise concern about the background of Abedin, your own party turned against you. Is it a dead end?
Well, there's a high hill that we have to overcome, because the Muslim Brotherhood has enjoyed a political presence in Washington, D.C., on Capitol Hill and in the White House.
Would you say, Congresswoman, it's infiltrated the White House and Capitol Hill?
Well, President Vice President Cheney spoke to us yesterday and said that he also believes that there's influence here on Capitol